build it, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Wednesday morning out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Excuse me. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. It's starting to look more and more like this may be the end of the road for Bill Belichick in New England. Saw reports last night that this decision had been made after they lost to the Colts on their European trip. And it's been decided, Robert Kraft has already decided to look elsewhere as a head coach. If that is the case, do you think that means the end of Belichick, or will he pop up somewhere else? And also, we've been in kind of a little golden era of coaching in a lot of sports. You think about, obviously, Belichick is as good as anybody that's ever done it in the NFL. You got Saban winding down here at some point at Alabama. Pop down in San Antonio. You know, there's been some really legendary coaches here over this last little era. So who's next? When those guys step aside, and it's inevitable, it's coming, who's next to follow in their footsteps? Have some high school hoops today. Lake Carpenter, the voice of the Lady Bison, and Bison will join us, talk about the Bison winning the inaugural South Canadian Classic. Maybe just talk about the way that tournament went and the field that it drew. A really, really strong field up there in Lady. So we'll have him about 9:30. Look at this week's high school rankings. Added 4A through 2A into the mix this week, the inaugural rankings of the season for those classes. Also, Bertha Frank Teague bracket has been released. One of the teams that didn't play this last week in the tournaments was the Merritt Oilerettes, because they're going down to Ada the 28th through the 30th of December to play in that prestigious Bertha Frank Teague Classic. We know who they'll play, when they'll play, and we know what the field is for that one. So we'll talk about that. Then right off the top, a shocker, an absolute shocker in the portal yesterday. The first real one of this portal season, at least in the state of Oklahoma, as Caden Green, true freshman offensive lineman from Oklahoma, jumps in the portal. He was the first true freshman to be named a captain in forever, if not ever, just out of nowhere. I mean, just last week he was welcoming dudes from the portal. Spencer Brown from Michigan State, another offensive lineman, welcoming him to Norman like Thursday. And now here we are on a yesterday afternoon, just bam, he's gone. And I don't think anybody knew when people were walking off the practice field yesterday, hearing that news, like the players, coach, I think everybody was pretty surprised. I know McCade Matoyer.
Oh, he's struggling.
Matoyer, whatever. They asked him about it, and he's like, yeah, it's finals time, so we don't really pay as much of attention to who's not here, just because you never, the schedules for everybody taking tests and that kind of thing. That didn't even raise any red flags that he wasn't at practice yesterday till after it was over. So a shocker for the Caden Green thing. What does Oklahoma do now? Also, there's joy in Oklahoma City today for at least 71% of the folks that voted, as the arena, the brand new arena for the Thunder, for the city, has passed. So that vote passed, and it wasn't even close. What does that mean moving forward? 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. That is 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. We can talk about any of those things. Whatever else might be on your mind, feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going outside the listening area, a couple ways to stay in touch with the show. Log on to kadsam.com or download the app. The app's got it all. It's got radio. It's got the Penny News, brand new edition of the Penny News. Hit the website last night at midnight. Check out the deals through the app, thepennynews.com online. And, of course, the print edition will be filtering out this evening. By tomorrow morning, you can go pick up a fresh copy of the printed Penny News wherever you pick that thing up. And, of course, Big Elk and Paragon TV, just a couple of more nights before the Christmas holidays with Big Elk and Paragon TV. And, of course, over the Christmas holiday, you'll be able to enjoy the Merritt Oilerettes there down at the Bertha Frank Teague, I would assume. Jared, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Oh, just fantastic. We had a first Christmas.
Oh, did you?
Last night. It was, Wyatt will be headed out on Friday until after the day after Christmas, so we were able to get together with some smaller family to do some gift exchange before he left, so that was it was good. Paul made one pot wonder. You know what that is?
No.
Yeah, it's different every time we talk.
That's why it's a wonder.
You wonder what's in it. Cool. It's basically like stew. Just all kinds of just whatever fresh garden or frozen garden vegetables from the summertime might be thrown in there. It literally is different every time. It was delicious as always. We had a nice fun evening out at Paul's. We played a game. We played dominoes called Train, Mexican Train. I didn't know if I wanted to say that first word there. Have you ever played that?
No. Well,
I hadn't either.
Mexican Train, Chinese checkers. Were we so sensitive we can't say the name of it? Come on.
You never know. It was fun. I'd never played it either. Actually, as we got to playing it, I thought to myself, you know what? I think I played this or some sort of version similar to it. Didn't take long to catch on. It was fun. It kind of made you think a little bit more than maybe just a card game or what have you.
Yeah.
Because there was just some different strategy that you could employ, try to get rid of your dominoes. So it was a fun time.
Cool.
How was your evening?
It was fun. It was over at Arapahoe. Called some basketball. So night of basketball is always fun, right? It was good. It was a good night. You all right?
Mm-hmm.
Emergency text?
No, I'm just...
No, I mean full day because the little ones played first, so went over there and watched them play, and then of course the high school game. And kudos to Arapahoe, it was tough enough to wear pink night, and not only were fans, wearing pink, but they had pink jerseys on. Arapahoe did, and they had a cool. I mean, I talk about a ton of items in the lobby of silent auction items. A lot of really signed sports memorabilia, homemade items. There's this really giant homemade ice chest type thing. They even had items with Canute stuff on it. They knew who's coming to town,
right.
and so the Canutians could start bidding on items too. So all for a good cause. It was a good night. Good night over there at Arapahoe. Good job by the Arapahoe administration putting that on and their students.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very good. All right. Speaking of very good, for I think a vast majority of citizens in Oklahoma City, at least the ones that went out and voted, last night the arena deal was on the ballot, and it passed with an overwhelming majority. It ended up 71-29. Is that about where it ended, I think? Yeah, I'm just looking at the...
It was in the 70s, yeah.
I'm looking at the Oklahoma story here. Yeah, passed by a measure of 71%. Unofficial, of course, till it's certified. A crazy... I saw that of the tax questions, I guess, or I don't know if you call it increases, or this was just a kind of an extension. There had been 16 in Oklahoma City history, and this brought out the 6th most voters. It looks like just a tick under 58,000 of the 432,000 registered voters. That seems like an incredibly... Does that not seem like a low number to anybody else?
Listen, voting's always going to be low. I mean, the turnout, it always feels like it's going to be low. I lean more on the yes votes. You know what I mean? On the result, not the voter turnout, but...
Yeah, 13% voter turnout.
Yeah.
But that may have been by design, right? To keep it its own thing and not get it jumbled up on another, you know what I'm saying? On an actual election day.
Yeah.
Maybe that's by design to keep the turnout lower than maybe a normal ballot because you can mobilize the yeses.
Absolutely.
There's all kinds of things that you can do there, right? With as far as the strategy of it. So what it does, it's a 6-year extension of the penny sales tax, starting 2028. Those 6 years would. Thunder contribute $50 million. City $850 million in taxpayer funds to build the new downtown arena. Looks like 28, 29 would be kind of the projected starting years as far as the Thunder season goes. And it keeps the Thunder in Oklahoma City through 2050. So this isn't going to be another. It's not like the Thunder can just constantly, hold them hostage or whatever.
Right.
This is what it is. And I heard, right here on these airwaves, Mayor Holt was on a couple of different times. A couple of other people were on throughout the day. And one of the big issues that people had with it was, they're only contributing $50 million of $850. He really hammered home the point that if you look in similar sized markets, namely New Orleans, I think he had New Orleans and Indianapolis, maybe Salt Lake as the ones that he brought into the conversation. When you look at what those franchises, they didn't put anything in. So that was his point was if you look at what similar sized markets, we're getting more than even those folks did, because those teams and their ownership groups did not contribute a dime, whereas the Thunder at least kicked in some. And of course, not only is there that to the construction costs, but then once the thing is built, obviously, if it starts say in 29, you're talking about almost a quarter century worth of lease payments to Oklahoma City to rent the building. That'll also go in toward offsetting those costs. And we already mentioned the economic impact numbers that are out there, around $600 million a year that the Thunder positively affects the economy of Oklahoma City. So, I mean, when you think of it in those terms, I think it's not surprising that it passed with such an overwhelming majority. And I also think it helps that they waited till this restructuring, rebuild, retool, whatever you want to say, had starting to kind of take off, as opposed to trying to run this through 2 years ago when it was Tank City.
Oh, you mean
as
winning,
team-wise,
winning
yeah.
on the court?
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
that makes sense. You got a lot of motivation for a winning team or the future. That's been kind of the theme even before this was even brought up. It's like the future is bright for this Thunder team. So why? Then hey, future's bright. Let's give them a new building to play in and keep them here. But ultimately, this is big. This is huge for not like I said yesterday. It's not just big for the city of Oklahoma City and the downtown area, and it means more than just the Thunder. Obviously, it's going to be the Thunder's home, but you're going to get some. There's been a lot of a big league city is more than just a sport. You're showing the world that, hey, yeah, not only do we have this big league, we have this city here, the Oklahoma City Thunder, but we can fill this stadium, or fill this arena consistently night in and night out. Why not bring your big acts here, your Kenny Chesneys, your Guns N' Roses, and so they're going to continue to see that. As far as making big tours for concerts and other events. And then, like I said yesterday, now, when you have the nicest, newest arena, once it opens their doors and that ribbon's cut and the doors open, the NCAA is going to go, hey, how about we throw some events over there? NCAA tournament, basketball tournaments, both men and women's. Wrestling, I could see wrestling there. You know what I'd love to see? I don't know if the new arena would be equipped for this, but I would love to see like a Frozen 4 in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
I think that would fly. I think that would work, honestly.
The one thing that when the Ford Center originally was built, it wasn't built with a NBA franchise in mind.
No.
It wasn't the glitz. Even when you go by it and you look at it, it's nowhere near like, say, the BOK. I mean, man, when you go outside the BOK in Tulsa, you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Kind of blows you away. This is just a circle with brick.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's the one thing, I don't think anybody would say that it's fancy. the Paycom Center now.
No,
there's nothing fancy,
was,
and that gives
yeah.
at least in ways appearance-wise that might be able to help draw some of that stuff. And then I know there's a bunch of things that have come up in the discussion of this as far as the back end of things, as far as loading and unloading. The dock is no good for a lot of the concert stuff, and that's why you see Tulsa getting the highest end acts at the BOK because of the way that's structured behind the scenes for ease of loading and unloading all the stuff that goes along with those major concerts and major shows.
And now that we had the fun, now that this is past and we know it's coming, now we have now it's fun to talk about. Well, where could they put it? You know, the speculation of where's it going to go. You know, you want to keep it centralized downtown. Is it going to be on the south side of the river, the north side of the river? And I could see, you know, they already see that expansion of downtown with Scissortail Park and how it's kind of expanding down south. So I can kind of see it in that area. And then you're going to see more hotels pop up. I mean, just the expansion alone, you know what? And again, that's why it's big for Oklahoma City. You build this arena, then what's going to come behind it? You know, more hotel rooms and more shopping and more eateries and stuff like that. This is big for Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal or the ultimate result of this and what it could bring outside of just the arena would obviously be the NBA All-Star Game, right?
That'd be fun.
That would be like okay.
Usually that's the progression of things, right? You get a new arena or new like look at Arlington. They built the new stadium down in Arlington, and a few years later, boom, they get the All-Star Game. So you see that a lot. That's kind of the natural progression of things. I don't know the list of All-Star games. San Francisco is one of the newest ones in the NBA right now. I'm sure they're on the docket to get an All-Star game. I'm sure of it, right? They have to be. It's the newest, nicest arena. So you'd think, but there's always that holdup, and that was always the big question back in 2012 was, man, can Oklahoma City handle a finals? Do they even have enough hotel rooms? I thought they handled it fine. I didn't hear about, well, we went there, we didn't have hotel room.
Hotel rooms are the big deal as far as the All-Star Game, too.
Yeah, you're going to need a lot of hotel rooms.
All right, here we go.
You look up a list of upcoming games.
Trying to find it here. 24. Indiana. Boston, it looks like maybe. They're not way out. That's the thing. They're not way out in the future like some other things are. I can't even find it like a 2026.
They might have not. You're right. They usually don't.
Boston preparing to make a bid for the 2026 NBA All-Star Game. It's in Indiana. I don't even know if they know where it is next year. At least right now. So, anyhow, that's the future is pretty cool there of what could be coming. Man, how surprised / shocked were you yesterday afternoon when reports came out of nowhere that Caden Green, true freshman, 7-game starting offensive lineman for Oklahoma, had entered the portal?
You want my initial reaction of when I saw my phone, my friends blowing it up? I'm sure yours was too. Nothing shocks me anymore in the transfer portal age. Everybody's fair game. And my first thought was, he got a better deal. He got a better bag somewhere. And then last night I started hearing the speculation of tampering with
Missouri. Just say it.
Missouri.
We all know what it is.
I mean, I'm unconfirmed. I don't know, but I don't know how legal or not legal that is, if that's a thing. And then that goes back into the question of regulating NIL and regulating more of this transfer portal stuff, because it is the Wild West right now. It's the absolute Wild West. Just Missouri's thinking, no one's going to stop me.
Well, and they've got that state law that has been passed to where their folks they can start receiving NIL as soon as they signed a national NLI, a national letter of intent. As high school kids. I know that was a big part of the Will Winery recruitment and what drew him not only home. I mean, all these guys are from that Lee's Summit High School in Missouri. What's crazy to me about Caden Green is how little pomp and circumstance there was to his recruitment. He was one of those guys that he didn't drag it out. he committed to Oklahoma when he committed to Oklahoma and never even wavered. I mean, he was just coming.
Yeah.
And then 7 games started. One of those as a captain, a true freshman captain that people were trying to go back and figure out the last time that had happened. Just the no amount of waves that were ever involved with him in any recruiting or the season or anything. And then all of a sudden, bam, what changed? Is literally last Thursday. He's welcome fam, guys coming into the portal, all that kind of stuff. And you never heard anything throughout the season of him being disgruntled. Nothing. And then all of a sudden, it's out of the blue. It's like, what just happened?
Grasping at straws, could he put his name in the portal to get bids? And if he doesn't like it, he takes his name out? Or if he got a bid. I mean, he got an offer he couldn't refuse.
It would certainly seem that way, that if you want to try to find any reason not money related for this, I don't know, people always want to blame coaches, and of course Biedenbow was taking it on the chin immediately. How can this happen?
Right.
The only thing that you could come up with, if you're trying to find some other reason other than money, is he was put into the role of left guard this season to get him on the field as a true freshman, and maybe he wants to play tackle. I don't know what that has to do with next year because Guyton is gone, Rouse is gone.
Yeah,
I don't know that there isn't a tackle spot available, or maybe Biedenbow said, listen, man, look at what you're doing as a guard. You'll be a first-round pick as a guard. Look what you've already done. And he didn't like that. I mean, if you want to go that – if you want to step away from the NIL talk, that would be maybe the one thing you could come up with as far as him not liking the position that it looked like he was going to be playing at Oklahoma. And somebody saw that, knew, maybe – and this goes back to one of two places to me, Mizzou or even Colorado. Phil Lodeholt got the offensive line job at Colorado the other day as an analyst at OU, knowing – maybe he's in his ear. And then, of course, there's always, you start to see Oregon again. And I think anytime NIL is brought up, I think Oregon's going to be one of those teams that's going to be in the mix, right?
Right.
Just because of what they've got. So we'll see where this ultimately ends up. I would be pretty surprised, though, if he does leave, if he really does leave, that he doesn't end up at Missouri.
Right. Yeah, and just that just on the field makes that OU Missouri game next year look like a lot of fun.
Well, and I know a lot of OU fans are like, all right, finally, let's get them back on the schedule, start kicking their tail, and then a lot of this goes away. Because right now, Missouri is whipping OU off the field.
Sure.
If you look at what they've done off the football field, they have all the clout and all the talk is on their side. Now, you beat them up next year at the end of the season, all of a sudden, they beat you for Luther Burden. They got Theo East out of the portal. Now it looks like maybe Caden Green's a possibility. Will Winneri's another guy that's chose Missouri over Oklahoma, and that's been a positive for Mizzou because they haven't gotten to take the butt whippings on the field like they have their entirety of their existence from Oklahoma.
And that still resonates if you go out there and you start consistently look at Alabama. Alabama is going to get guys they want over Missouri if it comes to that, because Alabama, I'm just using them as an example,
sure,
always is winning in the SEC, especially over Missouri. So that actually helps. I mean, that's another one of those benefits of moving to the SEC. You could play Missouri, it looks like, regularly. I think they're trying to create that natural rivalry between Missouri and Oklahoma again. And if they can consistently beat them, and then maybe that tide will turn a little bit. Wasn't all doom and gloom. The wide receiver from Purdue coming to OU.
Deion
Burks, number one wide receiver guy out of the portal, so that's good. And obviously Stutzman back. I mean, so everyone, it's always the guys leaving kind of overshadows the guys coming in. But I always lean on this too. It's that the portal is a two-way street. So
no doubt, it's always going to be two.
There's going to be a role. There's going to be a spot there, and somebody just saw a spot open and go, "Well, wait a minute. Now that I'm trying to turn my attention to OU now." So it's still OU. It's still a blue blood. It's still a destination school. That two-way street is going to start to turn. It always has in this young portal age, no matter who the coach was. So. Again, back to your question, my reaction is, well, nothing shocks me. Nothing shocks me anymore who's entering the portal, but nothing shocks me who we get from the portal either. So I'm not pressing any kind of panic button.
The problem is with yesterday, you got stronger at a position of strength, and you got weaker at a position of need. Meaning, you've got a really good wide receiver group already without Burks. He's kind of icing on the cake type stuff, but you can't go around affording very many losses of true freshman offensive linemen that some people have as like All-American type guys as freshmen. You know what I mean? You see him pop up on lists like that, and so that's the concern. And the lines are obviously a concern, at least going into the SEC before they can get up to speed and get up to the level of what they're going to see from the other schools.
Right.
All right, when we come back, a little, what are we calling this?
The Hardwood Roundup.
Hardwood Roundup. Round ball roundup. Hardwood Roundup. Blake Carpenter next. Last week, the first of 3 tournament weeks in high school basketball. There's always one right before Christmas and then a couple in January. And up in Leedy, a brand new tournament was created, and it seemed to go off without a hitch. Joining us now to tell us all about the South Canadian Classic, it's voice of the Bison and Lady Bison, Lake Carpenter. Lake, how are you today?
I'm good. Good morning.
Where are you headed?
I'm headed to Oklahoma City. I'm actually in Weatherford as we speak.
Weatherbury. All right, so we talked last week kind of the sadness of the 5-county going away, but it sure seemed like Leedy did a really nice job of recreating a little bit of that with the teams that they were able to bring in, plus the schools from the outside with Okarche, Red Oak, Balco being able to be involved in Visai as well. I thought it was funny watching the scores on Thursday. You warned us both that you were a little bit afraid of the first round matchups for both the Lady Bison and the Bison with Cheyenne Raid and Lady Bears, and of course Visai and what that rivalry is. And you couldn't have been more right. Both teams had to scratch and claw in that first round to get wins. Tell us about kind of how things started up there on Thursday for Leedy.
Well, the Lady Bison faced off against, as you know, Cheyenne Raid and Lady Bears. We had seen them earlier in the season on November 10th. We defeated Cheyenne there on our home floor by 8 points, but it was a tough matchup. I feel like Cheyenne, Raid, and Lady Bears just brings their athleticism and their size and their man-to-man pressure defense just sometimes gives us some problems, some matchup problems. Leedy did not play sound. They didn't play pretty. Lots of turnovers. We're basically going into that fourth and final quarter at one point, 12 points behind in the third quarter. It looked doom and gloom, to be honest. Get past the Cheyenne Raid and Lady Bears, but the fourth quarter, Lady Bison fought their way back into it and prevailed with a victory, which was very tough. Cheyenne Raid gave us all we wanted and more. It looked like they were going to be the winners, especially deep in that third quarter as they took that 12-point lead, and Leedy just somehow found a way to win. I don't know how exactly. I can't describe it, but nonetheless, came out with a win. And the boys' side, Visai, always a tough matchup. It's always very rough. It's rugged. It's highly competitive between Leedy and Visai. And Leedy boys just basically powered their way to a victory there at the end as well.
Moving on, Lady Bison really put a scare into the Hammond Lady Warriors, the eventual champs in the semifinals. But let's focus on the Bison first. Man, I thought after that first game against Visai, they really put it together with wins against a couple of top 10 teams in Class A in Red Oak, and then in the finals against Okarche. Kind of tell us about how the Bison were able, after surviving Visai, to really put it together and win pretty comfortably against 2 very good Class A teams.
Yeah, I was blown away about how well we played on that Friday against Red Oak. I was concerned about that game, as I'm sure most fans, spectators, and Coach Carpenter as well. We knew how good Red Oak was, saw them play the day before, just very athletic, deep bench, got some good young players. But Leedy boys played the best they have played this season. That was their best performance as a team, as a whole, just the level of intensity for 4 quarters, defense and offense just all seemed to click. Transition game was on point. The guards did a great job handling the ball, and then they just carried that level of play from the Red Oak game on that Friday into that Saturday game and just looked unbelievably good. Now, had some turnovers. However, when you play a team like Okarche in the finals, number 4 in Class A at the time, Coach West's team is athletic. They're scrappy. They got some size. He's got a deep bench as well. Lee does not have that deep a bench. But, boy, the boys for 3 games in a row just played real hard. But those last 2 games, Red Oak and the Okarche finals, was just impressive. The guard play, which I kind of was critical the last time we talked about, really stepped up, handled a lot of pressure, a lot of body contact. It was a very physical game. And Luke Puffenbarger, I call him Luke Puff for short, but Luke Puffenbarger, and, of course, Aaron Hill, the freshman, and Alex Kadavy had an unbelievable tournament. All of them played very, very well.
Well, here we go again. Lance Carpenter, he finds a way to get his teams to start playing that just kind of crescendo and play their best ball as the season progresses. And got the win last night against Arnett. We don't need to talk too much about that. Looked pretty easy, 74-26. And now one more before the Christmas break, taking on Sealing. And all of a sudden, I mean, last week we're talking to you and you're talking about, man, we got a tough schedule. And
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I like Lee's chances going into that game against Sealing. Sealing, I think, only played like one game.
Last night.
Yeah, they just won a state championship in football.
Right, yeah. So, but you guys are rolling right now, feeling pretty good about yourselves. How does Lance always do this?
Well, I mean, I don't know his magic formula, and I don't think he probably could explain it as well. I think his boys just...
I would love to hear him
together.
try to explain it. That's what I would love.
Well, I just think it's just learning. We just put a different level of intensity, and I think those boys just come out ready to play. They kind of feel like they're winners right now. When you start believing in yourself, seeing that you can beat some ranked teams in Class A or Class B, whatever it is, gives you a lot of confidence. I felt our guards got some confidence shooting the ball, handling the ball. Luke Puff stepped up. He elevated his game. And when Luke Puffenbarger, you and I both know, and probably everyone who's seen Leedy play in the last 2 or 3, 4 years, Luke has started since he's a freshman. When Luke Puffenbarger gets his game going, he just makes everyone around him better because he's a 6'5" guard necessarily. He can handle the ball. He can pass over a lot of defenders. He sees the floor. His head's up. He feeds, dishes, and just contributes in so many ways. Yes, he can get to the rim, and yes, he can score, but Alex Kadavy averaged 22 points in the tournament, the other senior. Most of those points, or a lot of those points, come from good feeds from Luke and other players as well. I just feel like when Luke Puffenbarger, we follow his lead. Now, I'm excited about this season, but let me just go back. I was really excited at this point last year because we won the 5-county conference tournament, the very last one. We were undefeated at Christmas time. Luke Puff was playing unbelievable. He was the MVP of that tournament. And then things kind of fell apart right after Christmas break. Luke was injured. We didn't have him for several games, most of the season till the playoffs. Things just kind of got out of kilter. So I'm cautious about getting too excited. We have a good team. We continue to play as well as we played the last couple of games, 3 games. We will go deep into the playoffs. Hopefully scratch that state tournament.
And now go knock on wood that doesn't happen again. Well, I don't even know why you would speak of that.
Well,
what happened last year.
I'm glad I'm glad that Lake brought that up because I was going to ask, what does Luke look like? That was a major storyline in January and early February last year with that foot. What does he look like? He's back to the old Luke and 100% healthy on that foot?
He looks 100% healthy from my viewpoint. He plays hard. I think he's playing more aggressive. He just, like I said, he just plays. Most guys in Class B basketball that are 6'5", 6'4", they're a low post. They play with their back to the goal, or they can't shoot out of 6 or 8 feet from the goal. That's their sweet spot. That's not the case with Luke Puff. He is a unique unicorn, in my opinion, for a Class B school especially. He can play the guard position. He brings the ball up the floor. He can get low. He bends his back. He gets down, dribbles between defenders like you're supposed to. At the same time, keeps his head up. And that young man can pass the ball as fast and hard as anyone. We know he can throw a baseball real hard. You better be ready when Luke Pass feeds you the ball, because you're going to take it off your head if you don't have your hands up.
All right, man. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. Be safe in the rain headed to Oklahoma City. We appreciate your knowledge and congratulations to the Lady Bison, especially the Bison. I mean, I think that's a pretty good notch in the belt of Coach Carpenter's team here in the first part of the season to win that inaugural South Canadian Classic.
Yeah, it gets you excited for sure. Hopefully just continue that level of play after the Christmas break. Do have ceilings. Ceilings always tough. You know, they're going to be strong, athletic. It's going to be rough and rugged. And especially on the girls and the boys' side. The girls have a huge hill, but the boys, if I think they play well and continue to play like they've been playing, they'll do okay.
Fantastic. Lake, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
See you later. That's Lake Carpenter, voice of the Lady Bison and the Bison, talking about Lady. Of all the tournaments, the tournament wins by the teams, I really, in my mind, maybe not surprising, but because of the field, that was a really impressive job by the Bison to be able to beat top 20 at that time, top 15 teams in Class A. Really impressive for those guys to be able to earn that victory in the 3 games. And like, you know, a lot of times that first game, I think if Vici plays anybody but Leedy, maybe it's a different Vici team, but because of that Dewey County rivalry, you know, they're up for it, right? And that's a harder opponent in round 1 than maybe you normally might have had going into it if you're the Bison. But really, really good job. Let's look at the rankings. I know we've had Class A and Class B rankings before this week, but now we put 4A through 2A into that mix as well. No surprise. Maybe the surprise is how dominant a number 1 the Weatherford Eagles are in 4A. When you look 6-0, and they received 49 out of the 60 first-place votes. Right. Douglas 3-3, that's probably part of it, even though they've lost to some teams from outside of Oklahoma, obviously, the Douglas Trojans have. But I was a little surprised that, and maybe not that Weatherford's number 1, but just how dominant a number 1 they are so far in the voting.
Well, I think the 3-3 next to Douglas's name is a part of it. Not trying to take away Weatherford. But if you go back and listen, I felt like Weatherford is a number 1 team because they got all 5 of those guys back, and they were very close to winning that title last year outside of a couple things. So I think a lot of people leaned on that too, the returning starters and how their season ended last year, the role that they went on last year. They've clearly kind of taken over the Western Conference. I mean, look what they did to Kingfisher at the Woodward tournament, 67-19. Just bring that up. My goodness. So it didn't shock me as much. And I'm anxious to see if it will hold if the season goes on, depending on what Douglas does. Does that make sense? Like right now, like, hey, we'll put Weatherford here because they are 6-0 and everything I just said. Douglas's 3 losses are from out-of-state teams. They, go and challenge themselves from out of state, but as the season goes on, and if Douglas goes on a roll, do those number 1 votes anyways go away from Weatherford. But I like the spot right there for him. I think it's deserving.
Yeah, try to let me pull up. I know they play Crossings Christian round 1 of the Tournament of Champions up in Tulsa. Dadgum.
Yeah, our man. I can find that. I've seen it.
I've seen it too.
I've seen it.
Okay, here we go.
You find it?
Yes. Okay, so they've got Crossings Christian 1:30. That's on the Wednesday, December 27th. So 1:30 against Crossings, and then if they win, they'll play the winner of Edmond North and OK. We don't have 5A and 6A rankings. I would be fairly surprised if Edmond North isn't 6A number 1. So you could see 4A number 1, 6A number 1 in the semis if Weatherford's able to beat Crossings and Edmond North beats OK. And then, of course, on the other side of that bracket, you've got Owasso and Metro, and then Dale, 2A number 1, defending champion of this Tournament of Champions. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people around the state want to see Edmond North and Dale. I would love to see Weatherford and Dale, just to get an idea.
For our interest, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But we might get to see Weatherford, Edmond North, and then the winner play Dale either way. So, but yeah, the Eagles are, man.
They are, dare I say, flying high. They're pretty good.
The closest game so far is what, 31? No, there's a 16. Last night they only beat Cache by 16. 61-45.
Only.
Before that it was 31. Life Prep Academy. Yeah, it's
their lowest output of 61 points.
They're a monster.
They're great. They're a really good team.
You mentioned the Western Conference. 6 of the top 20 can be found as Western Conference teams. It's what you get night in, night out in that conference. Down in the small schools, not a ton changed on the boys' side. Leedy did move up. I think they were 10, and they moved up to 7 on the boys' side. They did garner a first place vote. They're at 11-2. Calumet, the overwhelming favorite, or the overwhelming number 1 so far. Part of that's Cobb with 2 losses, but part of that is people, if they've seen Calumet, they know how good they are. Man, defending runner-up, and they added Jake's son. I mean, that's going to be.
They're on a mission.
Yes, they are.
They are on a mission.
And they've got the revenge factor on their side all year long, right?
Right.
Girls' side, I think cooler heads finally prevailed in Class A, where you look up and now Sealing's got a vast majority of the first place votes, unlike last week where they were a little bit more spread out.
Yeah, it was weird.
And maybe that was just due to Sealing not playing much yet.
Maybe not.
But they blew through the tournament up in Alva. Alva in the finals, 3A number 3, beat them 58-31. So, I mean, a resounding win there. I think, it's everybody chasing Sealing again this year in Class A girls. Canute stays at number 8 with the tournament win. They're 10-2. So the Oilerettes there. I know Navajo 8-3. They lost last night by a pretty good margin to Hammond on their home floor. Lady Warriors were the inaugural champs at the South Canadian Classic. What a comeback, by the way, against Red Oak. Holy Moses. Red Oak number 4 in Class A.
Probably the play of the day throughout the state. That thing was starting to go viral, that clip from
Edwina Piwo.
Yeah, from Piwo hitting that shot. That was awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
I didn't realize. I watched the clip, saw, nice shot. And then I looked at, that was a game winner.
Yeah, that was it.
And so I had to go back and listen to it. Man, Ed was excited. That was fun. That was a fun call.
Yeah, really good comeback by Hammond to win that. So
yeah.
The Lady Warriors 9-1, 9-0 with Henley. She had 21-14 last night, and that win over Navajo. So Hammond number 2, Dover number 1 in Class B girls. No, Lakiba Sickles took a beating last night at number 4. Oh no, wait a minute, they didn't take a beating. They lost though in overtime at Cyril. I must have heard the boys score. That was a beating. Anyway, so they lost in overtime to Cyril 65-56 for their first loss. But a lot of the same cast, a lot of the same characters. Arnett with the big win last night, I thought, over the Lady Bison of Leedy. Arnett's
a solid team.
They, last year I think a lot of people had them as the second team in that area with Lomega.
Right.
And Leedy was able to kind of sneak in there and get that spot. Mountain View put 100 on the board last night against Carnegie at number 10, 101-26.
Ooh.
And then back up in a little bit bigger classes, Bethany number 1, defending state champs, Keziah Lofton, OU commit or signee. She may be a signee by now. That's going to be a team. They lost in overtime of the finals of the Tournament of Champions at Fort Smith, Arkansas for 4-1. That team, they come here. They came here last year. They get to come here again in January, I think. Come watch.
Yeah.
They are amazing.
If you respect good basketball,
my gosh.
come watch them. Yeah.
They're good. Anadarko, number 3. They're getting a few first place votes. Boy, they demolished Clinton last night, which that's going to happen right now until the Lady Reds kind of get some sort of momentum built with Coach Jefferson. But once again,
just their junior high is kind of
decent. I think that's
right.
He's
starting a base there, I think.
I think that's right. It's just going to take a little
time.
As with the boys, In 4A, the girls' Western Conference, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just 5 in the top 15.
Ooh, just 5
on the girls' side. Weatherford coming
Ooh,
in at
just
number
5.
15. There's just 5 of them there in the Western Conference in 4A girls. So, 3 overtimes versus Surreal, by the way, for Lakiba Sickles girls in that loss. Man, good stuff. It's good stuff all around, and it's just going to get better and better as we get past the Christmas break into January. Start seeing different teams play each other in some tournaments that maybe we haven't seen yet in the regular season. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking. I should have done the homework before. 1, I'm counting our Paragon schools that are ranked. 1, 2. Is it just 3? 4? 5?
Let's see. Merritt girls are ranked. Canute girls are ranked.
That'd be 6.
Hammond, Leedy. That's what, 4?
Canute boys and girls. Leedy boys and girls, correct. Merritt girls.
Hammond girls.
Hammond girls. Who am I missing? I got 6 in my mind.
I think that's it.
Not bad showing right there.
I think that's it for now. And a team that I think, and hang on a minute, let's make sure we didn't miss on the boys' side. I wonder when what Eric's got to do to get there. Coming off that Best of the Southwest tournament win,
Yeah.
keep on stacking some wins together. We might see the Bearcats kind of sneak into the bottom of that top 20 and see if they can move up once we get into January. They got a chance to be there at some point for sure.
Yes.
All right, take a break. Come back is at the end of Belichick in New England. Also, I didn't read off the Bertha Frank Teague bracket, did I?
No.
For Merritt. We'll do that first. Let's talk Bertha Frank Teague next. I do have that Bertha Frank Teague. They have released the bracket for the Bertha Frank Teague Classic down in Ada. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That's the 28th, 29th, and 30th of December. Why would, if you're asking, why would we care about a tournament in Ada? Well, I'll tell you why.
Well, because it's a really darn good tournament.
It's a prestigious tournament, and it's also got the Class 2A number 8 undefeated Merritt Oilerettes in the field. So by chronological order, we'll read that. You've got Hartshorn, who is 2A number 6. Their first-round opponent is 3A number 1 Washington. That's at 3 o'clock that Thursday. So 2A number 6 against 3A number 1. Also on that side of the bracket, Kingfisher, who is 4A number 10 right now, against McAllister. There's not rankings for 5A or 6A yet. Those may come next week. I've got it pulled up right here. It doesn't really say a time for the first rankings. Anyhow, I can tell you McAllister 5-2 already in Class 5A. So that's one side of the bracket. The other side of the bracket has Bethel, who is 3A number 6. They'll take on Carl Albert. Once again, a 5A school. The Lady Titans 5-1 so far this season. That's a 6:30 game. And then the 2A number 8 Merritt Oilerettes will play the host, being Lady Pirates. That's the 4A school, being as they're 4-3 on the season. So Merritt plays the host, being that's an 8 o'clock tip scheduled Thursday, December 28th. So the sides of the bracket being Merritt, Bethel, and Carl Albert on one side, McAllister, Kingfisher, Hartshorn, and Washington on the other.
It's a good tournament. That's always one I'm going to keep my eye on, especially we got a local team in it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
and
a good tournament.
Quite frankly, I think if you're the Oilerettes and you could have picked your first-round opponent, I think you'd pick who you got.
I do too.
With Bing. I mean,
I
even
do
though it's
too.
the host,
It's
even
gonna
though
be-
you'd be
yeah.
kind of a road game or
Sure.
what have you.
That doesn't bother them. They'll be
No,
fine.
yeah.
I think they play their game. They're going to be okay. They can get themselves in the semifinals of that tournament.
Yeah, then see Bethel or Carl Albert.
And that'll be a challenge.
On
but
that Friday.
That's what
That'd
you
be good
want.
stuff.
Listen, you don't go to this tournament because it's easy. They're going there to get challenged. This is going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. That's a fun tournament. I've been there a couple times. Great environment, great area there. The campus that's played at ECU, it's beautiful. The gym is unique with that dome-like interior. It's pretty cool. It's going to be a good time.
And it seems like it's always pretty. I mean, it's supported by that community.
Very much so.
No matter who's in it, you get a bunch of people there. They're really intrigued by. And I think it's really. I think last year Caddo won as a Class A team, if I remember right.
Did they?
I think they were the champs.
That wouldn't shock me. They were good last year.
Because last year those holiday tournaments were kind of dominated by the smaller schools.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember right, Dale won the Tournament of Champions on the boys' side. Caddo won the Bertha Frank Teague as a Class A school. Sealing was right there with Edmond North, who was the soon-to-be back-to-back 6A state champs.
Right.
And I think until some foul trouble at the end there, Sealing was hanging, into the fourth quarter of that tournament in Mustang. So that's it's pretty cool. There's no doubt about that. This is going to be some good stuff. And last year, kind of the small schools really were able to put their imprint on a lot of this stuff when they going up against the larger schools. So maybe it's Merritt Oilerette's time to do that this season down there at the Bertha Frank Teague. All right, that's it. That's it for a Wednesday.
Talk about Belichick tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll do the Belichick.
He'll still have a job tomorrow, so we'll speculate tomorrow.
That's right.
Maybe. Who knows?
I think he'll be fine.
I think he will be too. I think, just real quick hitter on that, I think he can declare. He's done enough where they're going to go to him and go, you can make it on your terms, Bill, but we encourage you to do it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think Kraft, that's not the way that is. I heard a lot of conversation on this coming back on Thursday night because the Patriots were playing the Steelers, beating the Steelers.
Yeah.
And I can't let me remember who it was. It was an owner that had to make a decision like this. Oh, it was Pat Bowlen years ago when he fired Dan Reeves after Dan Reeves had made it to the Super Bowl a few times with the Broncos.
Okay.
And asking, why did you fire such a legendary coach that had been so successful? And Pat Bowlen said, I wanted to get the control of my franchise back. I wanted my franchise back. I wonder if that's where Robert Kraft is on this deal. With Brady gone, and now it feels like Belichick in control of all the football side of things. And let's be honest, Belichick the coach has been way better than Belichick the GM. When you look how devoid of talent that roster is, and who the GM is, it kind of falls at the feet of Belichick.
And listen, whatever happens, is whatever Belichick chooses to do after his coaching career, I beg that he does not get in the booth.
No one's giving him a microphone,
that
right?
Dude is. They interviewed. Did you watch Army Navy? Did you catch that?
No, I was
there because they played it at
basketballing
at Boston. They played it in New England, and he was on the sideline, and he did the.
Oh yeah, he was on game day, wasn't he?
Thing, yeah. And
excuse me.
They interviewed him on the sideline, and it's such an honor to be here. My name is Bill Belichick.
There's no chance
I was like, oh my God, I know I'm sick, but I'm about to puke some more. This is so boring.
No chance he ends up there.
Please, just go to a beach somewhere, Bill. Get a tan in your cut-off hoodie.
I think what you're going to see is he's going to coach if he wants to. I mean,
someone will hire him.
Half of the league,
20,
25 teams would trade their coach for Bill Belichick probably.
Yeah.
And so if he wants to, I think it'll be available. The question is, who's maybe ready-made to be able to step into a job that could win, as opposed to, there's plenty of rebuilds, right?
Yeah, he doesn't want to rebuild.
I don't think so either.
He's been trying to rebuild.
Yeah, he's been through that.
Next head coach in New England, Dan Quinn.
Oh, there you go. Do you have some sort of...
No, I'm just guessing. That's all you heard Sunday night was how come this guy has got to be a head coach. He needs to be a head coach. I think Cowboys are lucky that they retained him this year.
Yeah, I thought he was gone after last year myself. I wonder, but and I'm sure in the back of Jerry's mind, he's going, we got to pay this guy whatever to keep him in case we want him as the heir apparent.
It might, who knows, but he's an East Coast dude, so he might want to go back there in that area. But it doesn't mean you can't go and throw money at him, even if he leaves. Go, hey, we got a spot for you again. We got the HC spot for you.
I'm hoping it's Josh McDaniels. Let's retread him into the New England coach.
Yeah, they'd love that.
It'll work here, I promise. All right, good stuff. A lot of high school hoops today as we get nearing the Christmas break. Before you know it, we'll be in the big house, right? It'll be crazy how fast it goes.
Yeah, January's going to fly.
Have a great day.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.
That